Saturday will mark 50 years and 1 day since Lynette Squeaky From travelled through North California in an assassination attempt on Gerald Ford on behalf of the Manson family cult. Now, for 49 of those years, she remained the biggest misfire to hit Sacramento, right up until 2024, when Coach Collins, who similarly failed to do any damage to Greenock Morton during his short stint at Raith Rovers, travelled to America. Now, while Barry Robson's shown incremental progress against Dougie Imrie's side, Saturday will continue to give both sides food for thought on their aspirations for this season's Scottish Championship. This, of course, is the Oh No 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 podcast. I'm your host this evening, Robbie Weir, and I am joined firstly by Blair Hopcroft. How are you getting on, Blair?
Very well, mate. I was beginning to think this was like assassinations.com over here with the intro there. I wonder where you were going with it, and then Sacramento came out. I was kind of hoping it was going to be a jibe at Lewis Jameson, to be fair, but no, I'm all good. I'm looking forward to the game on Saturday, actually.
Equally applicable, I would say. But yeah, I was really annoyed because I looked it up on Wikipedia and I'd actually searched the wrong date for I put the 4th of September, and it came up and I was like, Sacramento, I can use that, brilliant. And then I was like, the game's on the Saturday, so it's the 5th. But here we are. And then, of course, we've got the half marathon man himself. We've got Graeme Meldrum. How are you feeling, Graeme?
I'm feeling great, yeah. Aye, all good. It's been a while since I've been on, so looking forward to it. And talking all things Morton.
Marvelous. Yeah, and the Community Foundation putting up the photo of you and Alan, which did look like some psychedelics have been consumed, but
I think that's how both of us felt when we got across the finish line, Robert, to be fair.
That's understandable.
Of the minerals that we should have in our bodies. And glad it was all over, to be fair.
But tremendous effort though, brilliant work, and a lot of money raised as well, which is the most important thing. Yeah, let's just kick off as we usually do. Graeme, we'll stick with yourself. Main news that's came out of the Scottish Championship this week, aside from all the transfers of deadline day that we didn't see, Tony Dock, ex-Dundee manager, rocks up now in Dingwall to take charge of them on a permanent basis. What are you making of that?
It's a bit shit, eh? Because we've not played them yet.
My thoughts, really? Exactly.
Did they have to get a competent manager? Did they have to? Oh, not happy with that one. Not happy with that one. It's almost like you look at these teams, or some of these teams before the start of the season, and you're like, there's a weakness in their lineup or whatever, and then the loan window comes and they solve that weakness, and you're like, oh God, they're going to have a good chance. He's got to improve them, surely. Come on. Look at where they are in the league. He's got to improve them. Very sensible appointment, I would say, as well. Probably the best that was available out there. So yeah, just a bit kind of worried that they're going to get their shit together, to be fair.
Yeah, you're always hoping for a bit of a wild card appointment and those sorts of ones when it's the other teams that are doing it, but unfortunately not. I did see, I was reading online, apparently Ferguson, their CEO, was confused as to why they'd not had any interest or bids for Ronan Hale. I'd imagine that's because largely Roy McGregor slapped down £1 million on top of his head and said that's what we're wanting for him for Northern Ireland internationalist. But yeah, generally a relatively quiet week in terms of, aside from Dunfermline signing a boy from Ghana, rather strangely. But again, that's just Dunfermline and their data analytics and transfer. So yeah, we'll mostly spend this episode looking ahead to this coming Saturday. I think the first thing to probably start off with is just as the main sort of discourse that's came around with Morton recently. It's been obviously a turbulent time off the pitch, but no more so than for Dougie Imrie and his partner Lauren. Just to extend our condolences to him and his family. Just a horrendous situation. These things are far beyond football, and Absolutely. We really just want to extend our thoughts to them, given the really difficult circumstances and the just echo the outreach that's gone out there. A very, very sad situation. So yeah, just to extend our thoughts to them. But yeah, just to come to yourself, Blair. Well, as I say, we'll focus on the game on Saturday. A bit of a turbulent summer off the park for Morton. A lot of the stuff with our backers from Dalrada, a will they won't they sort of situation. Do you think maybe this season it's a bit unfair to expect the same as ever from Morton? I know maybe we sort of go on about them being sort of they have a really big unbeaten run during the middle of the season. They start the season actually unbeaten with 4 draws. But yeah, where do you have them? What's your thoughts on where they're at the moment?
I have to say, 6 weeks ago, I thought they were going to be cannon fodder. I really thought that they were going to be them and Queen's Park in particular. I thought were going to be the two that were really going to struggle, and then Queen's Park started to make a few signings, and you go, well, maybe. And then I have to say, I actually think that Morton have signed sensibly, maybe not like really good, high quality players, but they've brought in Eamon Brophy, who, you know what, you keep him fit, he'll bang in a few goals for you. Like he'll do all right. They've still got Adaloy in there, who's in the same boat. If you keep him fit, he'll bang in a few goals for you. I mean, granted, they balanced that by picking up O'Halloran, who is an absolute donkey. So cue his hat trick on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, they've brought in Comrie, haven't they? Just yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good signing, I have to say. They've got Jackson Longridge in there as well, which is a pretty decent signing. Like, I feel like there's a decent 11 in there. There's a decent kind of team. Quite an injury-prone team probably is going to be their major concern, I would imagine. But, I mean, if they can keep them fit, then they've got a shout. It's an interesting one as well, because as far as grass pitches go, it's about as good as you're going to get at this level at this time of the year. It doesn't always weather so well through the winter, but it's always a cracking surface at the beginning of the season. So if they can keep everybody fit, and I do wonder if they're going to try and continue. He obviously did a bit of work to try and get away for this Russell and Jimmy's thing that kind of got associated with them, which was absolutely justified. And last season, I think they did step away from it a little bit. They actually played some decent football at times. And I do think he's going to try and keep going with that. But they're just such an unknown quantity. Like, and it just feels like anything could happen at any point, and they could pick up anybody at any point and change it all. But yeah, like I say, to go back to the original question, I think 6 weeks ago, yeah, I thought it was going to be a shambles, but I'm quietly impressed with what they've done.
And yeah, Graham, just to come to you, they've signed in 6 signings that they've made have been under the age of 21. Do you think that's more Dougie Imrie's got the capability to do that, given that he's kept quite a strong sort of spine in that team? I mean, the likes of Cammy Blues, Ian Wilson, I mean, even keeping Nathan Shaw there, Grant Gillespie, Cammy Ballantyne, Zach Delaney, just all players that they've retained from last season. What have you made of their sort of their step to go into these younger players?
I think it's, you can only buy in the market that you can afford. And I think when you look at Morton and you heard all the stories as Blair's talked about, during the close season, it probably is the older injury-prone player who's not going to get a deal somewhere else. Don't know why they didn't sign Stevie Mallon. Or the younger guys who are up and coming, and guys from down south that are coming up want a fresh challenge. So you can understand why they're doing that. I do feel like Morton are like a cliche writer's dream, because it's a difficult place to go. Dougie Imrie will always have them up for every fight, all this kind of bullshit. But well, he can organise a team, right? Without a shadow of a doubt, Dougie Imrie can organise a team. Dougie Imrie seems to get more out of the parts that he's got to play with. Cammy Blues I didn't rate at all, but see the last couple of years he's certainly done something with Cammy Blues to make him a decent player at this level. I will actually say I do actually like Cammy Blues. I think he's a good player. And think it probably could offer us something as well in the middle of the park. So I think there's a lot of these things. It's the market he's got. He's got hungry guys who are coming up looking to make a name for themselves. Maybe using Morton as a stepping stone that we've seen before. And he's got the guys coming in the opposite direction. And I think in Eamon Brophy and Ardaloy, as Blair said, he's got goals in that team. Maybe no for 90 minutes, but maybe 60 minutes for one and 30 minutes for the other. I'd love to see the two of them up front, but no against us. Because I think centre halves would hate that. They wouldn't like playing against the two of them at the same time. It's a good team. And if you look at them, you would say 5th, 6th in the league, like most times. But Dougie does seem to get a tune at them, so fair play to him.
Yeah, I mean, even their yesterday on deadline day, Blair, there was an attempt to bring in Callum Morrison on loan. Do you think it's,
Yeah.
again, probably an indication that they're showing maybe a little bit of a higher level of ambition than they did before?
Yeah, I kind of caught me by surprise. It's no the market. I mean, as Graham says, you piss with the pot you've got, like, but it just feels like they weren't in that market, and then all of a sudden they bring in Eamon Brophy, and you're going, actually, that's not a bad signing, but can he stay fit? And then it materialises they're trying to pick up Callum and Morrison. I mean, he'd be a cracking signing if they got him, to be fair. And obviously it's a loan signing, so again, it's maybe just my misunderstanding of the rules. Why are they trying to do a loan signing before the deadline? Because the deadline's no for another month, is it, for loan signings? Is that only internal?
I'm not sure if it was one that maybe Linfield wanted to get rid of him permanently, or were expecting to recoup some of the fee that they've paid. Certainly they'll have spent a decent outlay. And just looking on a sort of surface level, maybe I'm a bit ignorant because I don't follow David Healy's Linfield as much as maybe I've made out before on here, laughing when when they were losing games. Yeah, not as much this year. But I don't think he's really set the heaven alight over there in particular. Their fans don't seem overly taken by Callum Morrison. But again, if there's going to be one manager that you look at in this league and say, he's, as you've rightfully mentioned before, he's got a track record of being able to build up players. Maybe Graeme mentioned Cappielow there. He's a perfect example of someone that's pulling the... And I was quite surprised, as Graeme says, that nobody else took or maybe they did, and he just wanted to stay at Morton because he feels that he's valued there. But yeah, similarly with Callum Morrison, being able to get him in would have been a real statement of intent, I feel. But yeah, just to come back to yourself, Blair, just... you mentioned obviously Jackson Longridge came in as well. They've brought in Chris Moore from Leeds United. I'm not sure if he's Scottish, but do you think Dougie Imrie, he's obviously replaced his two centre backs that were they're sort of long standing at the club, in Morgan Boys and Jack Baird, who both moved on to St Johnstone. Do you think he's quite well equipped there to be able to sort of adapt given the circumstances? The likes of Jackson Longridge maybe turn him into a centre back alongside a younger lad.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Aaron, to be fair, he did play a bit. He seemed to play across the back four for Hamilton last season, so possibly. I would say like that's where I'm not sure he has kind of replaced what he lost. I mean, if you look at what was really like kind of solid and good about Morton last year, the goalie, is it Mullen? I think it was. It's away to St Mirren, was good, and then the centre halves, neither of them, I mean, let's be perfectly honest, neither of them are that good, but they do a job. Like, they are just solid championship centre halves. And we spoke about that when we spoke about St Johnstone before. Like, it was actually quite sensible signings for them. I'm not sure he has replaced that. But it doesn't seem to be showing any signs of issue. Like you said, 4 draws for the beginning of the season. I must admit, I was kind of looking at the Jackson Longridge of it all and just assuming that he was going to left back. And if they've got Comrie at right back, it's 2 pretty decent championship fullbacks. I'm not sure who they're playing at centre half at the moment, to be fair, but I'm presuming it's these young boys that they've brought in, because you can't lose 2 regular starters, 2 kind of season championship centre halves, and kind of hold your own. Is your man still there? What's his name that was with us? That's terrible. I forget his name. Dylan Corr. Easily forgettable.
I don't think he's playing much games. No. I suspect what they're probably doing, because they've really shown an ability to mix it up. Just looking at the results that they've had, in particular against St Johnstone, it was when they got that goal from Eamon Brophy, and what a hit it was. I shared it, must have been about half time into the group chat, and it's just a ridiculously good strike. But then for the majority of the game, St Johnstone, they basically said to St Johnstone, in sort of true cliche for Morton style was, we're going to make a low block, we're going to sit in, and it's up to you to break us down. And they did that so well, and it was a very, very late goal from St Johnstone that was sort of, they had to build up patiently to be able to get their equaliser. Again, they've shown resolve in their game against Ayr United. They went from 1-0 up to 2-1 down to then conceding an equaliser, and then a positive display at Firhill against Partick Thistle, where, to be honest, they were probably quite unlucky to not get the win just based on the result. But yeah, I suspect that I don't know if it's maybe that they're playing more sort of using the likes of your Cammy Ballantyne and Zach Delaney as your wing backs, and then when they push up, they're having Ian Wilson sitting a bit deeper, or whether Ian Wilson's, they're still using him in terms of his legs to be able to get a bit apart. Yeah,
I quite like the lad Delaney as well. Actually, he's decent. So there maybe is someone in this Jackson Longridge playing centre half, because that Delaney. I mean, I just remember him last season. He's one of these players that kind of puts himself about, and he's kind of in your face, and he kind of noises up the opposition a little bit. So, maybe stick with Longridge. But then, if he's got Cammy Ballantyne rather, but he's also got Comrie coming in.
Yeah,
it's interesting, but it doesn't seem to be. I mean, this young boy that you say that's come in for Leeds, he's not played a lot of football. So where's the rest of it? I don't know. It's an odd swap for them.
Yeah, it'll be one to keep an eye on. Last season we really didn't. I mean, up until that second last game up at Cappielow, which was just the most, to use Pro Evo terms, a ding dong battle. Just because it was all over the shop in terms of the end result. We
really
going 2-1 up and then having to scramble to get a last minute equaliser through Aidan Connolly. It's such a tough ground to go to. In the first game, just never felt like we really got off and running. I didn't get along to that game, but from what I've heard,
I was there. It was not pleasant.
One of those days. But I know that I've mentioned it about Coach Collins before. He just never really seemed to get off the mark against Morton. He had the game where he pulled it back at Starks Park and they won 3-2 thanks to the last minute goal. I think that was Zach Delaney. But yeah, just intrigued to see how Barry Robson adjusts, because they've both got the same record. They've cancelled each other out with 2 draws against each other, Robson and Imrie, so far. So time will tell as to how this one goes. Graeme, we were having a brief chat before we jumped on there. 4 games, 4 draws, one where it can potentially go either very good or very bad for Morton quite quickly.
I know it's mental. I think was the first game 0-0, then 1-1, 2-2, 1-1. So I can't believe I put my prediction in already and it didn't go for 0-0. That seems to be the pattern that's going on. It's mental. You wouldn't have thought. Well, you actually look at the teams Morton have played, and it's probably his toughest start on paper you could have got.
Yeah.
To be fair, an alleged resurgent Dunfermline. Yeah, you've got Partick Thistle in there. You've got St Johnstone, Ayr United, who were going to be high flying, and ourselves. That's not an easy start, and to be unbeaten after that, there's certainly something there in Morton. I don't think there's anything to be afraid of, but I think there's definitely something there. If they win, I think, as we said as well, they've gone the 5 games unbeaten. It's a fantastic start to the season. And if they do beat us, then we're kind of going, wait a minute, we've just lost the last 2. What's going on? So it's pretty high stakes, especially when there have only been 2 games on. A proper result, and then we're closing that gap on St Johnstone.
It's quite a funny thing, isn't it? 4 draws in a row. Like if they beat us, they're unbeaten in 5, and if they lose, they've not won a game in 5. Like it's that kind of, just the narrative changes really quickly, and actually not a lot has changed at that point. It's just 1 game, but yeah, you're right. It can completely swing the kind of narrative of it.
Because we've just came out of this big run ourselves, where we got up to 13 games and then lost that. But at no point did you really sort of feel like, we're padding it out with a lot of drop. Maybe towards the end of last season, but even then, I think like the games that we had against the likes of Airdrie and Morton at Starks, that I'm sure either team, if you ask Morton fans, they probably felt that they could have won that game. And that for us, we had a penalty towards the end of it that was sort of turned down for a handball. That was just, really bizarre that we didn't get that one. But yeah, I'm sure each group of fans will point to their own bits of luck and decisions that go one way or another. Just to come back to yourself, Blair, Billy Davies, bit of a surprise return there. Where he's not been in management for a good while, but he's got a special job title. I can't quite remember what it was, but it's something like efficient technical director, coach, or some madness like that.
Yeah, there is something actually. I'm going to Google it because it is absolutely ridiculous. It is basically a man who thinks he's too good to be an assistant manager, and so has some stupid. So not head of football something.
I just love how the top image of him that comes through on Google's just from the Independent of him open mouth with chewing gum just looks like just a proper like low level villain.
I did think it was a bit strange, to be fair. Technical head coach is what he is. So he's not the head coach, but technically he might be the head coach. We're not sure. I mean, fair play to him, because I imagine in Dougie Imrie's absence, because it's 4 draws, but I mean they've been managerless effectively for 2 or at least 2, if not 3 of those, with everything that kind of Dougie Imrie had going on at home. So I'm presuming he's stepped up and has taken on the role, kind of thing. And I think we spoke about it before about like players that I know somebody in the Champions League final or something for Chelsea that was saying that they remembered a Billy Davies
Ryan
team talk.
Bertrand, it was.
Yeah, like he's obviously got something about him. He's also got an absolute chip on his shoulder about everything, though. Like, he's an angry man, so he'll fit in really well at Morton, to be fair. Yeah, it's a really odd thing. I don't, not quite as odd as Danny Lennon getting the Airdrie job, but yeah, just a weird thing to be coming out of no managing for so long and coming in and the made up job title, and yeah, I don't know what they're at. I don't know what the game is.
Is he more raging or less raging than Andy Milne, do you think?
Well, it depends on whether or not we are the context. If we are the context, then no, he's not. And if we are the context, if we're not the context, then probably. Because from all accounts, Andy Milne's a really lovely guy who gets on with everybody, but fucking hates the Rovers. Absolutely hates us.
I remember the last time I saw Billy Davies, he was getting taken off in a stretcher at East End Park because Ronnie Coyle snapped him in 2. Oh. So maybe he might have a something in the back of his head about hating Rovers.
I remember watching Ronnie Coyle. All that tells me is he's no quick.
So Ronnie hit him, and then Ronnie went down injured, thinking if the physio comes on and deals with me, I'll not get red carded. The physio came on and dealt with him and he got red carded anyway. Great challenge.
Brilliant.
Fun at defence as well at East End Park. Fantastic. Love it.
Love that.
I'll only hear tales of the fence at East End Park, and it's just one of those ones. The only fence I've really experienced in Scottish football, aside from Somerset, which is pretty tame given the sort of stature and the rivalry between the two teams, is Aberdeen. It's the only fence I've experienced, and that was a joy to watch. Aberdeen fans losing their mind after Gregory Taddy hit it into the roof of the net from 1 yard out. Very fun experience. Incredible. Yeah, just intriguing for Saturday how we get on. I think that Morton are just such a grafting team. Very hard to lay really into where we'll be able to go with things and how we set up as a team as well. Just given the fact that we're coming off the back of a defeat to Partick as well, big opportunity for us. So we'll turn our attention, Blair, onto the Rovers and looking ahead. Just that the deadline day, firstly, just to say, quite expected. It was a quiet deadline day from our perspective.
Yeah. I mean, we say this every year. We're only a year or two in, but deadline day is not deadline day when you're at this level of football. There's no such thing as deadline day because we do not buy players for money, generally speaking. And so it kind of makes no difference whatsoever. We've kind of, I think we've done our business. There's maybe room for more to come in potentially, but as I said the other day, we'll wait for the right bus.
That was brilliant. The best analogy of getting ages. I love that. I was actually listening in the car to that, and I was killing myself. Getting them all. It was fantastic.
It's just a lot of reaction to that, a lot of questions that got asked, and they just got answered immediately. Just the club, it was like watching them just play, just slapping out the cards in terms of a game of poker and just being like, this is it, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, very funny to watch. I mean, we are going to have to potentially look in terms of our options with this one. A couple of players that are going to be missing from the mix, so Graham. Josh Gentles and Richard Chin, both on international duty. We've obviously yet to see Josh Gentles. Richard Chin, potential miss for this one in terms of the options that are available for us.
I would fear, I'm getting the cliches out again, I would fear for Richard Chin in this game, to be honest. I think he'd maybe take on one fullback and then the next fullback of having him in the cowshed. So, yeah, maybe a good thing that he's thousands of miles away.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to see him flying up into the upper ends of the wee Dublin end. Because, yeah, just couldn't have that. It's good to see that he's getting his opportunity, though, just abroad. I'll be looking to tune into that game if I can. I'll be at work, but maybe have my phone out and try and keep tabs on it.
It's amazing how quickly he's become almost like a cult hero.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We're told that we've signed a project, and then the boy, and I think it was that clip, the Dunfermline game, where he's coming on and the fans are cheering him, and you just see him like having a big smile on his cell. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think we've bought into him and he's bought into us, to be fair.
He's a very humble guy. That's from my experience of what I've spoken to him about.
I think it's just that cult heroes kind of fall into one of two camps. They're either really shit, and they quite often are really shit, or they can be just guys who come in and kind of like work hard. Like I would even put likes of Aidan Connolly almost in that kind of regard as well. Like Aidan Connolly cultivated his time at the Rovers around just having a really good work ethic, and there was no Rovers fan could ever go, oh man, what's he playing Connolly for? He's lazy, or you just couldn't. Worked really hard, and it's that old kind of cliche of you'll forgive almost anything. Gregory Taddy, perfect example. You'll forgive almost anything if they work really hard. And again, if they can do it with a smile on their face and look like they're really enjoying it, it just makes it all the more endearing. And he definitely seems that way. I do fear for him a little bit in the sense that he plays for Barry Robson, and out of sight, out of mind, because if you're not getting on this week, somebody else comes on in your place, that might be you for 6 or 7 weeks before you get anywhere near the team again. But good luck to him. I think it's a really good opportunity for him to go out and play a couple of games. Hopefully he gets some game time, but even just the experience of travelling out there and putting on the international colours and everything, that's got to be pretty special for anybody.
Have you seen the Malaysia squad? It's wild, some of the names that they've got in there. Not like household names or anything like particularly.
Is it not a load of Dutch guys?
There's a load of South American players. There's like just
in
the sense of like, but literally their grands and grandparents are from Malaysia, but they've emigrated over to like Brazil and your Argentina and Peru and stuff like that. So there's just these there's a boy called Sergio Aguero in their national team that's just been called up for the first time as well. Just a real mix. There's one of the players plays for Alaves in Spain, and he was linked to Premier League clubs as well during this transfer window, but didn't move. A boy for America, Cali, can't remember which nation I think they might be from Colombia. But yeah, just a few curveballs in there, which I would be all for the Scottish national team, rather than just hoovering up these players. I mean, Scott McTominay obviously very good and does have the Scottish grandparent connection there, which is fine. But if we did go down that route and started getting a few Brazilians to chuck into the mix, like the old Iron Brew advert, I'd be more than happy for it. But,
we need more emigration out of Scotland. We've stopped emigrating. That's why we've stopped these granny links and stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, even
all these boys going over to Italy, like get themselves some wee Italian wifeys. You never know. We could have Italian Scottish bairns, but at like the inverse of what we've had in this country for such a long time. Italian chip shops over here. We'll be over there setting up camp.
I mean, there's only one Italian chip shop in Kirkcaldy, isn't there? Really. Aye.
I was going to say, I think there's actually about 3 or 4.
There
mate.
is 3, but aye, we'll just we'll stick with the main one because obviously clear Rovers backing there on Overton Road. So yeah, just a plug for them. Not that they need it. Just Blair, to come back to yourself though, just with the game itself. I'm going to ask you 2 questions because I know exactly what you're going to come back with because we've done this conversation about 4 times before. I don't know why people continue to listen to these pre-match podcasts, but regardless, they still turn up. Is now the time to mix things up? And then the second part of that question is, do you think it'll even happen?
Actually, I have to say, for the first time, I do think he needs to mix it up a bit, and I think he might. He almost certainly won't, but I think he might. I think the I'd like to see us changing it up a little bit in the sense that, I mean, going away to Morton, it's not an easy game by any stretch, but I don't think going there with no strikers is the way to start the game. I think it had its place and it had its reason. Away to Ayr was absolutely it was the right call, and it was proven to be so. Even at home in a derby, I get it because it's not a defensive game with no strikers. It's a very different kind of setup, but I feel like it does leave us lacking an out ball, and away to Morton's a place where you kind of need to be up the pitch and kind of harassing them in their own half. So I would quite like to see a bit of a change, and I think there's 1 or 2 boys that kind of deserve to come in and get a start maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's such a hard one because he's had a really good start to the season, and although the performances maybe haven't been absolutely startling, the results have been pretty good. And the kind of clean sheets and all the rest of it that have come with it have been pretty good. He does have a system, and he likes to stick to that system. So I do kind of wonder if he'll stick to the back 3. But maybe it is a game for like a J Rowe to come in to try and stretch them a little bit, kind of up the wing, especially if you're not going to have the pace of a Richard Chin coming in off the bench. I still think Jack Hamilton needs to be playing football. I said in the post-match, but I feel like that miss, the more I watch it, the more I think if Jack Hamilton's played the last 4 or 5 games, he probably doesn't miss that. He's a kind of guy that needs to be playing football. So I'd like to see some changes. And I do think Robson will make them, especially off the back of a defeat. But what those changes will be, God only knows.
Yeah, I mean, it gives him a bit of licence. I do wonder with the Paul McMullen of it all. You look across the defences in the Championship. I mean, even the last 2 games that we've had, Ayr United putting together a defence that's basically made up of 4 full-backs, and then you go into Dunfermline, they've got Kyle Benedictus, who's obviously in the twilight years of his career. Then you go into Partick Thistle and you look at Lee Ashcroft again, tail end of his career, probably not the paciest. Those are all types of players that Paul McMullen can really get in and about and exploit with his pace. Maybe with, again, Jackson Longridge getting put into that position of and asking the question, can we maybe potentially exploit that, being able to use McMullen's pace to then get our players up the pitch and then create something. I'm not on the post-match podcast, but I thought that the assist from McMullen for Matthews was tremendous
Really
at
good.
the weekend. Just really, really well set up. And he wins the penalty as well, so he's overall had a really big contribution and almost gets his goal. I think it will be a big monkey off his back when he does get his goal. Just to come back to the second point that you made, though, Blair, and I'll direct the question to you, Graham. J Rowe, do you think this is an opportunity for him to potentially come in? I know that we favoured Jordan Doherty on the sort of wide right, sort of latter stages of the first half going on against Thistle, but I mean, both of Ayer's goals, they came from the aerial threat that they had. I think it was Nick McAllister, and I can't remember who the other one was. I can only remember Nick McAllister out of the 2 goal scorers. But yeah, just potentially an opportunity there to be able to exploit his aerial prowess.
Well, I think until you'd said that, I hadn't thought about it. I thought you might have put O'Connor in as the third centre half and moved Doherty out. But I think, as Blair says, the real pacey guys in the team. You're missing that with Chin, so you've got Rowe that can do that. And we all know you don't have to be the tallest guy to score headers against Morton after what Aidan Connolly did here 2 years ago. So that probably makes perfect sense to have somebody with a bit more about them. Or usual thing, full back arriving late in the box kind of scenario. But I think, as Blair has said, I think we need a centre forward. I know that on Saturday, Lee Ashcroft basically just put the ball on top of Josh Mullen 99 times out of 100, but he was under no pressure to play that ball. He could just take his time and pick it. There was nobody really centrally to worry those two centre halves. So I think we need something up front. Who it is, don't know. But I would expect, like Blair, I would expect a few changes. I would expect to see, as I said, O'Connor come in. I wouldn't even be surprised if Jordan went into centre mid. I think the amount of strapping that Scott Brown's got on his calves is unbelievable. You know, he's like held together with sticky tape when you see him warming up. So, and I don't know if taking him off early has been something to do with that, or if it has been tactical. But you know, there's a lot of boys in that team that have played a hell of a lot of football since the start of the season.
It's true.
That's why you have a bigger squad, so you can make these changes. So I wouldn't be surprised to see one or two either, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listening to the Club 1883 interview with Barry Robson and John Potter, they were really highlighting that last night, and just sort of saying that, again, the likes of Lewis Stevenson as well, we brought in Ewan Wilson, who's played a lot of games for Motherwell. Opportunity there for him to come into the team as well. But Blair, just to go back to the point that Graeme was making there, just Darragh O'Connor, do you think that offers us a bit of degree of flexibility there, and just him into the team? Barry Robson's spoken quite highly of him, being 6'4". Morton fans will of course know all about him, having had that spell. So again, another opportunity to potentially utilise him on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think honestly, I'm at a stage where I'm like, I can make an argument for 3 or 4 players coming in, right? So you could say like Ewan Wilson, he looks like he's got a good pedigree, he's played a few games, be really good to get him in. You're dropping Stevenson though, because he's been decent. And then you look at the centre halves, and O'Connor's a big boy, it'd be good to get him in. Who are we dropping? Because you're not going to drop Hanlon, I wouldn't have thought. Fordyce seems to be the kind of central of the 3. So it feels less likely, I don't know why in my brain, but it feels less likely you're going to drop him. And Doherty's arguably been the best player this season, so he's not going to drop him. If he goes to a back 4, he's got, again, Doherty just pushes over to the right and he keeps the same 2 centre halves anyway. And then even like J Rowe, like Mullen's done really well. So it's a really hard one because I don't know who does come out. I think Graham's right in the sense of Bruni, he is kind of strapped up quite heavily. I didn't think he was very good on Saturday, if I'm being kind of brutal about it. He wasn't terrible, but I thought Matthews had a really good game. And I think we've all seen, and hopefully Barry Robson's now seen, just what Sean Byrne offers you in the centre of midfield, because he's just been so steady. He's been really, really good. And then you look up front, like you said earlier, you've got McMullen. He's not going to drop him because he was arguably the best player in the park on Saturday. And then Dylan Easton. you can't drop Dylan Easton.
Right.
So it's like but that's that thing of who makes way. Do you know what I mean? As much as I'm advocating changes, who drops out? Mullen maybe for a J Rowe coming in, or maybe Mullen stays on but he changes the shape to a back 4 like he did in the kind of first half at Firhill. I don't know, but O'Connor's the one I can't see. I can't see him coming in. As much as anything else, I think he's going to have to bide his time, and he's probably as I've Duncan that line. To be fair, I've been thinking about it a while because it chuckled the voodoo doll after training, hoping one of the boys gets an injury. I think that's probably his best chance of coming in. I can't see Robson changing his back 5 or back 4 personnel wise, maybe shape wise, but I can't see the personnel changing.
I mean, it speaks volumes that we've been doing this podcast for pretty much 2 years now. and this is the first time that we've properly had a real full, like, you look at the bench and it's fully stacked with players that have got like experience and just within the game. Certainly at least one season.
I also don't want to tempt fate a little bit here, but we've not had an awful lot of injuries. And I know that's a really stupid thing to say out loud, but Robson said when he came in, like, about changing training and changing things to improve that picture. And I don't know if it's just coincidence or not, but there's also a little bit of me wondering, the same thing with Richard Chin, if they're all just afraid to get injured because they'll never get back in the team. But it just seems to have stopped, though. Like, we for a while were like ridden with injuries, and it seems to have really kind of settled itself.
Just Scott Brown wrapped up in kineo tape like an Egyptian mummy, just stoating about the pitch. Like, I'm fine, I'll run it off.
He's off on Saturday. Yeah.
Aye, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. But Graeme, just for this game, do you think the result from this game is one to potentially set the scene for how we look back at the start of this season? I was reading some of the discussion about how the season started on Pine Bovril, just the way that things have gone so far. How do you think it will be depending on the game on Saturday? Do you think that influences things one way or the other as to whether we've had a potentially quote-unquote good start or whether it's one that's potentially petered out?
I think when you look at a new season, you always compare it to the season just gone. The season just gone, we didn't beat Morton. So you've got, if you can beat them, you would certainly go, this is a much better start. Yeah, okay, it's a better start already. But that's the kind of matrix I'd be looking at. We didn't, yes, we laid a glove on them, but we didn't really do much against Morton all last season. So to go there and beat them, yeah, definitely a good start. And everything starts pointing towards it being a good start. Like Saturday, we got beat on Saturday, but I thought we played really well. And it was, as Blair said, a lot of these games come down to one individual mistake. That game came down to one individual mistake in the end. But yeah, I don't see dark clouds on the horizon. There'll be obviously the usual doom and gloom merchants out there if we don't win. There'll be the usual happy clappers, irrespective, But I think if you can go there and you can win up, that's how I would certainly see it. If we can go and beat Morton, that's more than we did last season. So yeah, it's a positive.
I completely agree with you. To nobody's surprise whatsoever, probably. But yeah, I feel last season we had so many questions going on in the background. Just it started turning into real trivial stuff. Like, you looked at questions about like stuff like, oh, why are we spending money on new laundry stuff or cladding? Like the cladding, people asking questions about cladding, and it's like, it's because it's going to have a material long-term impact in terms of how the club does, with, in the sense of we're maintaining our infrastructure. Whereas this time around, we've brought in some really, really exciting signings. Richard Chin's obviously came out of nowhere, and again, he's not going to play on Saturday, but it's a good story to have about your club. It's far better to have a player called up for international duty, no matter what nation they're going to, than it is to sort of be sitting there looking at a potential, maybe a player that's came in. We mentioned the likes of Lewis Jamieson earlier on, and again, he obviously came in and he worked very hard for the club, but at the same time, I don't think anyone was overly enthusiastic. I was probably on the more positive side compared to a lot of people who, after a few games, have pretty much written them off. If we can get a win, then it's. I think it really sets it down as a positive. But even just going forward, just keen to see how the next few weeks pan out. And that's the great bit about being in the first quarter of a season, because you can really potentially lay down a marker. Morton are going to be a very tough test, though. You're talking about a team that have gone to McDermott Park and they only conceded the one goal late on, and they caused them all manner of frustrations. So yeah, it's definitely a test for us. And you know what, Dougie Imrie, the way that he gets his football sides to play, he'll obviously have them well up for it. So keen to see how Saturday goes. We'll try and keep this episode under an hour. I have prepared a Should McStay Should Dargo to keep with tradition.
Fun.
Anyone got any final thoughts for Saturday's game going into it?
Just regarding the whole sort of Morton St Johnstone of it all, I wasn't surprised at that result. I think that for Morton to go there as little of the ball as they wanted, and as you said, just to sit and say to St John's, come on in, we've scored. That's just like a Morton performance, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's no surprise. It was good to see it happen as well. So that's the only thing on that one. It's just not a surprise at all that they've gone and done that, and I think Morton will do that to a lot of teams.
Credit where it's due, though. I don't think there'll be a lot of teams that'll do that to St Johnstone.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully agree. And I know that you touched on it earlier on, Blair. I think they've really, the last season or so, I think they've really moved away from the sort of tag of the big physical Morton, being able to sort of develop.
Yeah, they have,
Some of the goals they scored last season were really good, so credit to them. Like, I know it's probably, from a Rovers perspective, very cliched, and you buy into the own mantras that you make yourself, but yeah, fair play to them.
At least stand being really, really small for big guys.
Oh my God, worst leg room in Scottish football. It is horrific.
We've still got some of the cliches there. We can't get rid of them all.
Ah, yeah, of course, absolutely. Vote the top ground in Scottish football by one writer, particularly biased though. It was the Daily Mirror article, so you can't really take too much into it.
Unbelievable.
My son had a burger there the last time we were there, and it was grey. Which was only smashed on Saturday, like a steak pie that had no steak in it.
Pie
oh my God, dog food pies. The pie sports things are minging. It just reminded me, and it's Stevie, my mate Stevie that runs the supporters bus. His top tip for Morton, if you're going to Morton, is get a square sausage roll. It's basically the same as the burger, but it's cheaper. Outstanding.
Full of the top away day tips.
That is why you come to this podcast.
If you see a man in his tangerine jacket, chewing away on it, and you know that you found your man. A very, very good guy, Stevie. Right, anyway, should mix there, should Dargo. I've got 6 clues related to a past or present Rover for you. So, yes, I'll just start off. I played 62 games and scored 6 goals for Rovers.
My first guess was going to be Dylan Corr, but it's not Dylan Corr. 62 games. And how many goals?
6.
62 and 6. It's not that high. Is that 1 in 10? That's striker territory for us.
I was going to say.
So what's that? 2-3 seasons? I'll go Grant Gillespie.
Ryan Conroy.
Oh.
Clue number 2. I have played under 3 managers in 2 seasons for Rovers.
Grant Gillespie. Because he would have played under Barry Smith. Oh no, John McGlynn. But then does Kevin Cuthbert count?
No.
Is the question. No. Damn it. So this is permanent managers.
We, yes, got into a discussion with the folk at my work about, we were talking about, because I'm going to Turkey in a few weeks. Generally, the jokes have just gradually incurred that I'm getting a hair transplant and getting turkey teeth, getting calf implants. And we started talking about hair replacement systems, and I had to explain to a team of 4 women about a Scottish footballer in the second tier who, every time it's mentioned that he got a hair transplant on Twitter, I've got to say about Grant Gillespie that it's actually a hair replacement system, and done by Lee Miller, Lennon Miller's dad.
But it's
and
I take it he's
to be
over
fair,
carefully as an interpreter, no?
You've got to guess not.
Because
to be fair to him, it's cracking.
Too many baldy guys in the west of Scotland. I have no advance on Ryan Conroy, even though it's not right, because you're 3 managers.
Yeah, I'll stick with Gillespie, but yeah, probably not.
Right. Clue 3. I have played for both Raith and Morton.
Yeah, see, I knew this was going to... This is why I was like Dylan Corr. I knew there was going to be a Morton. If it's you or it's Les, it's always team-related. Always. The only other time I can think 3 managers in 2 seasons might have been... what would it have been? DL, Levine, McGlynn.
There was a guy, wasn't there? There was, definitely. What was his name? He wouldn't have scored.
See, I'm like in my head, I'm like Brian
You're
Graham.
not thinking of Sean Kilgannon or Brian Fairbairn.
Exactly, He was awful. He was terrible.
Which one?
Rovers and Morton.
Brutal.
There's a few, to be fair, isn't there? There is a few.
So just to recap the clues, played 62 games, 6 goals, played for Rovers, and they had 3 managers in 2 seasons, and they played for both Raith and Morton.
Bobby Barr's coming to my mind, but we've had Bobby Barr before. But Bobby Barr would have had more than 3 managers, wouldn't he?
Well, in 2 seasons, because you could also have the Gary Locke, John Hughes,
Aye.
Was that your
and
guess?
then on to Barry Smith. That could be a good shout, by the way.
Are you wanting...
He scored more than 6 times for us, surely. Oh, man. Who else?
Fits the narrative. Fits the clues so far.
He does. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced it's not anymore, but I've not got any better offer, so I'll stick with Gillespie now.
Clue number 4. I never played for the manager who signed me.
Bobby Barr.
Did he not?
Ken signed him.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Bobby Barr. Has to be.
Well, clue 5 is winger, and you want to hear clue 6.
Aye.
I once got into verbals with Jim McIntosh at a pre-season game. Clue 7, exceptionally staunch. Exceptionally staunch.
Yeah. And from memory, what he shouted was, "Shut your face, you moaning old C-word." And he was right. I love Jim, but he was right.
Yes.
That's a good shout, Graham. Well done.
Bobby Barr, just always remember the... I don't know, was there an uproar, shall we say, when we played Albion Rovers? And he told one of the ball boys to fucking ram it as well after he was leaving the pitch. Something along those lines.
I
really enjoyed Bobby, actually.
Seeing that game without a goalie. The game
Yeah.
without a goalie, he had such a gilt-edged chance that would have got us a draw. And that would have been fucking hilarious.
That'd be funny.
Without a goalie and got a point. Yeah, that'd have been hilarious.
I honestly, I would have put money on him having scored more than 6.
And I checked Tex Rovers' guide to should McStay or should Dargo. We've not had them yet.
Yeah, I was going to say we've not had Bobby Barr yet.
Every week, like Eddie Malone.
I mean,
yeah.
Only reference point I think we've had to Bobby Barr was Christina referencing him in that team that
That's right.
alongside the luminaries like Johnny Court in that
Willis
relegation
Furtado.
season. But vintage alongside Willis Furtado. What a guy. But we will be back, of course, post-match. Thank you, as ever, for taking the time to listen. Intriguing game against Morton coming up, so one to keep an eye on and see how we do. And hopefully it's a bit more positive than how we got on under Coach Collins. But as ever, thank you for taking the time to listen, and bye for now.